There are 7 deadly sins, according to David Fincher's 7 movie. I watched the movie and it got me thinking what would be the 7 deadly sins for programmers. And more importantly, what would be their punishments. In 7, the punishments were pretty gruesome. So I locked myself in my room, brainstormed for months, weeks, days, hours, minutes, seconds, and finally I came up with 7 most unforgivable sins a programmer can commit and their consequences. So, let's begin. Pride. Overconfidence. Have you ever thought my code is flawless? Who needs a effing code review? No one can code like me. I am the Mark Zuckerberg of Microsoft. If so, congratulations. You have fallen into the trap of pride. And another sign that you are engulfed into pride is bragging about your GitHub contribution to demean others. Look, it's great that you have an impressive commit history. Good for you. But you don't need to print your effing GitHub graph on a effing t-shirt. Like, what do you want to prove? I already know my GitHub contributions are as green as Sahara, and the punishment is pretty bad for this sin. Punishment. You will face unexpected bugs one after another. And worse, your GitHub account will be suspended forever. Sloth. Laziness. Have you ever started a project months ago and never finished it because you were too high on caffeine? Or worse, you forgot to document your code, leaving the future generation, including your future self, to suffer? If yes, then my friend, I am afraid to inform you that according to WHO, you might have LPD, Lazy Programmer Disorder. And also, according to UNO, it's a sin. Pretty deadly one. Punishment. You will spend the rest of your life trying to understand what in the world you have written in that code on Microsoft Word in light mode. Pretty disturbing, right? Gluttony. Overdoing it. Have you ever imported a bunch of unnecessary libraries that you don't even use in rest of the code? Or written any unnecessary functions or classes just to increase your file size? If yes, then congratulations, you are guilty of gluttony, the sin of inefficiency. Punishment. And for this sin, the punishment is pretty deadly. Your beloved cup of coffee will be replaced by a cup of hot and sour water with 1 tablespoon of Nutella. And trust me, it's pretty terrible. Speaking from my personal experience. Envy. Comparison syndrome. Ever looked at someone else's 6 line of code and thought how this is better than my 1345.7 lines of code? Oh, he might have used AI to be that much efficient. He can never come up with that. If you think like that, that means you are being resentful. Wait, let me check if the word is correct for this sentence. Yeah, it's perfect. Never think like this, because the punishment. Over time, you will lose confidence in your own code and eventually yourself, which will result in your dreams of becoming a Google engineer being completely shattered. Wrath. Rage against the machine. Ever spent hours debugging your 1345.7 lines of code only to realize you misspelled a module name? Did you then start yelling at your IDE? Then you hit your computer with your keyboard with full force to break it. And then you hit it again because it didn't break at the first hit. If yes, then you already received your punishment. Punishment. Good luck buying a new Intel Core i9-14900K, NVIDIA RTX 4080, Asus ROG Z790, DDR5 6000 MHz RAM, 2TB NVMe SSD, and of course, RGB light. Greed. Taking on too much work. As a freelance programmer, have you ever accepted every single gig knowing you can't finish them at all? But you know, the sweet sound of money is too irresistible. Then when the deadline is near, the panic mode activates and you start copying AI-generated code. If you have done it, then the punishment. Your to-do list becomes a never-ending backlog. No matter how much you complete, new task magically appears. Lust. Shiny burst syndrome. Programmers are the most lustful creature. Not my word, but according to Darwin's theory of relativity, the irresistible attraction to every new framework is quite irresistible. Like the prime example is me. I started backend development with Cherry Pie. Then after watching a YouTube video, I switched to Django. because according to him, Django was better than cherry pie. Then after listening to another guy on YouTube, I jumped to Flask. And now you can understand that I wasted a lot of time switching from this to this. Punishment. You will never truly learn anything. You will stuck in a loop of changing frameworks one after another forever. So the conclusion is avoid these sins in any cost and you will be a more happier, healthier programmer. And somehow if you have committed these sins knowingly or unknowingly, there is only one way to resort it. Join my Discord server before it's too late. Bye.